Hey, what's up, LHT? Welcome to another episode of Digging Deeper, where we dig a little bit deeper into Sunday's message. And before we jump in, as always, I want to encourage you to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And thank you, those of you who are sharing this content every week. It means so much to us to know that you're partnering with us to share this encouragement to other people. And hey, want to encourage you, we would love to hear from you in the comments. So if God's speaking to you, if you just feel something that you want to share, make sure you drop it in the comments. We would love to hear from you. But let's go ahead and jump into Sunday's message. Sunday, we closed out possibly my favorite series of all time, called Heart for the House. And man, I just loved walking through this series together as a church. And Sunday, the title of the message was called Living for Legacy. Living for Legacy. And I don't know what it is. There's just something about legacy that stirs something up in us as humans. Like there's this feeling that legacy, it just kind of like strikes a chord in our spirits, in our souls, and it just does something to us. This idea that we can live lives that outlast us. We talked about on Sunday like this, the image of the footprints that your life leaves. And there's going to be people who come after you, generations after you, and they're going to see your footprint. And I don't know what it is, but it's hard to hear somebody talk about legacy and not be stirred up in our spirits. And this is no coincidence. In fact, in the Bible, in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, the author is exploring life and meaning and all of the things that we can chase after in life. And then he comes to this realization in chapter 3, verse 11, where he says this: oh, God has set eternity in the human heart. And what he's saying is there is something within us. There is a realization within us that all of us at some point come to wrestle with this understanding that our lives are connected to eternity. And what a tragedy it would be to just live our lives simply and solely thinking about our lives and not thinking about the legacy that follows. There's this spiritual connection between our hearts and eternity. And so it matters what we build and what we invest in and what we do, because we're connected to eternity. The thing is, it strikes a chord in our souls, and yet many of us don't spend a lot of time thinking about legacy. It's not something that a lot of people will really actually sit down and think about, hey, what's the legacy that I'm going to leave? And I think it's largely ignored because it's only enacted after you're gone. Think about it, that all of a sudden in a single moment, you will be done creating, crafting, and building the legacy that you will leave. And in a single moment, your legacy will be set in stone. And it's hard for us to think in those kinds of terms. And so we end up not really thinking about legacy until somebody's passed and we're reflecting on their legacy. And so it's so important, and it strikes something in our souls, and yet it's something that we often don't think about. And the question that we wrestled with on Sunday is the question I want to encourage you to wrestle with this week. And the question is, what is your legacy? What are you building? What are you investing in? What are the footprints of your life? What do they look like? Do they look like selfishness? Do they look like self-centeredness? Does it look like your world just revolves around you? Or are you making a difference and leaving a legacy? See, here's what I know. We're all gonna leave something. And we're gonna leave something that people look at and admire and are inspired by and are encouraged by. Or we're gonna leave something that people look at and they're like, man, that's a life to avoid. When you begin to think in terms of legacy, you begin to ask yourself certain questions. Questions like, does it matter? Does it matter? So does your political opinion really matter if it's gonna alienate you from your family? Does it really matter? Does your selfishness really matter if it's going to rip your marriage apart? Does it matter? Does it really matter in the scope of eternity and legacy? Do the little small things that we get so caught up on, do they really, really matter? And it brings us to this idea, what are you going to leave? But perhaps there is an even bigger question, and it's not just what will you leave, but it's, hey, what will we leave? We're in a Heart for the House series, and we're talking about the house that we're building, that we are Jesus's hands and feet in this world, that we are the house that he's building, and he is the cornerstone, and he's putting all of our lives together into this incredible building. And the question isn't just, hey, what are you gonna leave? It's, hey, are you part of something bigger than yourself? What are we collectively together? What are we as the church going to leave? What are we gonna build that impacts generations? What are we gonna build that impacts the world for Jesus? And I just get so fired up and excited thinking about the fact that I get to link arms with you in faith. And I have shortcomings, and I may have issues and failures, and yet you have some strengths that can fill my voids, and I have strengths that can fill your voids. And we link arms and we say, hey, we're committing to leaving a legacy that matters. And that's what it means to have a heart for the house, is to be bought in, invested, to go all in on this thing that Jesus is building, because we believe that we are going to leave a legacy that really matters. And I want to encourage you this week to think about, hey, what kind of life are you leaving, and what kind of life can we lead together? And as you begin to think through this, I want to remind you that on December 13th, we have an opportunity to link arms and to build our faith and to make a difference in this world. That we have an opportunity to come together and to sow into this house, to see our legacy formed and changing lives. And so we want to encourage you, hey, pray for December 13th and how you'll participate in this offering. Make a plan, and then come ready with faith and expectation to participate. And we believe that together, God is building a legacy through our obedience and our faithfulness. I love you so much, and I can't wait to kick off a new series this Sunday with you called Wide Open. I'll see you there.